Okay, we're recording, so consider us live. And what I'll do is I will connect to Facebook. So consider us live right now, and I'm going to connect to Facebook Live, and then I'll start the broadcast, which will put us like live. All right, yeah, consider us to be live right now, and then when you hear me start introducing stuff, that means that I've started the thing. Oh, crud, come on, don't do that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our presentation on eating healthy while sheltering in place. My name is Ryan McGee. I'm the communications manager for WellcomeMD. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. And joining me from our practice in Charlotte, North Carolina is our certified health coach, Luis Perez. Luis, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having me on, Ryan.
Yeah, can you just introduce yourself real quick and let everyone know what it is you do for WelcomeMD and how it is that you help our patients on a daily basis?
Sure. So what I do is I'm a certified health coach. So what we do is help everyone with their individual needs, depending on what those may be. So we go over nutrition, we go over sleep, we go over exercise needs, and we try to make it a very personal approach to everyone's specific needs. So that's what we do here. We try to give that approach to everyone to where they feel that they're getting a personal touch to what they're trying to achieve overall goal wise. And we do that with various different tools. You know, we do things like an in-body testing. We do DNA testing as well to help us know exactly what works for everyone individually.
All right. We want this to be as interactive as possible. We have a very brief presentation for you, and at the end, we're going to open it up for questions for Luis. The way you can ask questions, if you are viewing this through our Zoom meeting, there is a Q&A box, and that's where you can feed in your questions, and I'll pass them along to Luis when that time comes. But we do want to get started on our presentation on eating healthy while we're all sheltering in place, and we wanted this to be as practical and pertinent as we could. So what we did was each of us, Luis and I, we created grocery delivery orders. And we were looking at getting enough food to make 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 dinners, hopefully having enough with leftovers along with snacks where we're eating for about a week. And we wanted to do it for under $100. So creating a grocery delivery order, just to keep it kind of the same, I took Luis's list and my list, and went to the same grocery store to plug those in to get a real good comparison on what the pricing was going to be, which you'll see at the end. And also your mileage will vary because not every grocery store is going to have the same items in stock. I know I've run into that a lot as I've been getting groceries delivered to my house. So we'll get started and we'll start with what I'm getting for breakfast. And you'll see that what Luis is ordering is going to be very different than what I'm ordering. He's going to give us the healthy alternatives to what's on my grocery list. So I'm starting off with a dozen eggs. That's going to get me through the week, very likely. For my sides, I'm looking at frozen buttermilk biscuits. I chose the Pillsbury Grands variety, as well as thick cut bacon. And since we're in Virginia, North Carolina, I had to go with Smithfield. So that's where I'm getting my thick cut bacon. I'm also getting pancake mix and pure maple syrup. I think that's going to be pretty solid breakfast for a week, don't you, Luis?
I mean, it's not it's not terrible. It is definitely not in moderation again, like we talked about. But yeah, we can do a few tweaks here and there to make it a little bit more of a healthier balance in food. Absolutely.
All right, so let's see how you tweaked my breakfast items. You kept the dozen eggs. You changed out the frozen item as well as my pancake mix, and you went with a brand called Kodiak Cakes, which I'm actually kind of familiar with. I do like Kodiak Cakes. You can actually do a lot with that mix that they have. You can make pancakes, you can make waffles, you can make muffins with it. It's a really versatile pancake mix. And here in just a second, I'll let you tell everyone what the difference is between that and regular pancake mix and why you prefer it. And you have switched out the thick cut bacon to turkey bacon. So starting with Kodiak Cakes, like what is it about what's in that product that you prefer over something else that might be available at the grocery store?
So the good thing about the Kodiak cakes is that they're packed with protein. Usually, for the frozen pack, is usually about 12 grams of protein per tube. So it's whole grains, whole wheat, and it's only about 230 calories or so per serving. So you're getting the good taste of the waffle flavor, but you're also getting a more nutritional value for it. So that's why I like those. And like you said, you can do so many things with it. You can make biscuits, you can make muffins. I've actually done them before with the actual pancake mix itself. So that's why I choose those, because it's just, you're still getting that comfort food in a sense, but you're getting a more nutrient dense meal.
Talk to us a little bit about eggs. I've heard different things throughout the years over whether or not eggs are healthy. What's your opinion on eggs?
Eggs, again, if you don't have an allergic reaction to eggs and you can eat them in moderation, that's going to be the key. I think pretty much throughout this whole entire presentation for us is going to be moderation, because you can have eggs, but if you're looking at cholesterol intake and you have issues with high blood pressure, then absolutely, you want to do egg whites to stay away from the yolk. That way there's not that much of the cholesterol intake in there. What I like to do is usually 2 egg whites and 1 yolk. So that'll give me a good blend of it, but not too much of any of it. So again, moderation.
You also swapped out my maple syrup for local honey. What is it about honey that makes it better? And also, is honey, I've heard that it can help with allergies too.
Absolutely can. So especially in this time now with allergy season, getting local honey, being that it's obviously from the local bees, you'll actually get the natural, it'll help you fight against allergies.
Hmm.
And I get local honey I lived in Florida before, did local honey. Now I'm here, local honey as well. And I rarely get allergies. The honey in itself will just help you build more of an immunity to that.
And
And
what is that is that basically adding the sweetness without the sugar that you're going to get from maple syrup?
right, it's all natural. So if you get, like the one you have on the picture, you do a pure local, clean honey, then yes, you'll have more of the natural flavors, the more natural versus added sugars that you would get from different type of of syrups that are not just natural.
All right, let's move on to lunch. I'm doing sandwiches. That's going to get me through the week, I think. So I'm getting sliced turkey. I'm going to use honey wheat bread. I got some green leaf lettuce and some sliced processed American cheese food product for my sandwiches. I'm also getting a side of potato salad. I'm also adding frozen fish sticks and some macaroni and cheese to my grocery order. Let's see how you changed that. All right, you're having me get veggie burgers rather than my uh, added sugar to the bread. You're going with a low sodium 7-grain bread. You're doing veggie patties, keeping the lettuce and the sliced American cheese food product. I'm surprised by this. You let me keep the potato salad, and we'll touch on that here in a second. You're also getting the veggie chickenless tenders, which I've seen a lot of, and gluten-free mac and cheese. So why am I getting to keep the potato salad? I figured with all the mayonnaise in there that would be one of the first things that you would cut.
So you can do, it's kind of like we go back to the turkey bacon, which you kind of just skipped over. I know a lot of people get upset when they see turkey bacon, but again, it's not that the moderation. Again, it's doing more of the better quality food. So of course, the turkey bacon still has cholesterol, but it's just so much less that you would get than regular bacon. So I left the potato salad because there's options where, Trader Joe's has them, Harris Teeter has them, where you can get a better quality potato salad where it's made not full of the mayonnaise and things like that, to where you can still have something that you feel is a comfort food again. But again, moderation, do a cup of that, not a jar of it. So, it's all these little things that we can definitely do to enjoy some foods, especially in the times that we're in right now, where it's very stressful right now for everyone. So that way, to not add to the stress, then do a potato salad, but go for a better version of it. And your sandwiches you had, not that it was a bad sandwich, because sliced turkey, if you get it from the deli, is good turkey. But I'll just give you more variety as well, to where you could have, a good feel of a burger, but it's a veggie burger. But again, low sodium, 7-grain bread, lettuce, and some good sliced cheese from the deli. Then there you go. You're having, again, foods that feel that they're comforting, but they're not really giving you that much of a negative impact on your health.
And I know when going through this exercise, we had the Dr. Prager's California veggie burgers, which I've had before. They're actually really good, and even my 11-month-old likes them. Are there any other kind of brands? We've got the Garden brand here for the crispy tenders. Are there certain brands of the veggie burgers, the veggie tenders that you think are healthier than other options?
Where I've always gone is, again, Trader Joe's and all these. They have one of the usually the cleanest version, as far as one where I've seen, where I've gone shopping. I'm sure there are so many more out there, but definitely the Trader Joe's brand, all their stuff is 90% organic. So and they're very flavorful as well, like you said. So absolutely, there's a lot of different options you can go to, as long as you can see in the packaging and you get to look at what's in it, and you see things, because they're frozen, you can get to see things like sodium levels, make sure they're not too high, those type of things. You want to try to, because again, being that they're frozen, they're to be preserved. Sometimes they're very high in sodium. So again, be careful with that too.
Before we move on, I want you to clarify just what do you mean when you say clean? Is that in terms of certain ingredients that you're looking for that are just that to you you're going to put it back on the shelf?
Yeah, you want to. One rule of them that I learned a long time ago was, if you can't pronounce the words and the ingredients, stay away from it. Usually it's not a good thing. So things you want to stay away from is, it could say sugar free, but then it can have Xanax gum, all that's a sugar. So,
Mm-hmm.
you want to stay, again, don't let that be one of the first ingredients on the back of your packaging. If you're going for a veggie burger, for example, make sure that at least the first 3 or 4 ingredients are actual vegetables, because is what will be most of in that actual patty.
And then finally, just the difference between my mac and cheese and your gluten-free mac and cheese. Why does that make it that much healthier?
So because so many people now, kind of like what we talked about earlier, have a lot of allergies to gluten. So it's just nice to know that there's actually so many more options now that are becoming more and more every day. So many more becoming available to actually give us options for macaroni and cheese. Again, a feel good food, but it's gluten free, so you're not going to have any of the adverse reactions that you normally would have for having, just regular mac and cheese.
Okay. All right, let's move on to dinner. I'm going to make enchiladas. So I'm getting some 80/20 ground beef, flour tortillas, enchilada sauce, a can of Rotel, shredded Mexican blend cheese. I'm going to have a side of refried beans with that. I'm also going to do spaghetti. So I'm getting noodles, marinara sauce, and a package of frozen meatballs that you see there on screen. And then I'm going to have garlic bread as my side. Let's see what you've done with that. Okay, you're doing turkey lettuce wraps, so now we're getting lean ground turkey instead of the 80/20 ground beef and some romaine lettuce. And then your pasta, you're switching over to grilled chicken, zucchini noodles, and organic marinara sauce. So why organic marinara sauce instead of regular? What's going to be the big difference there?
So, and again, the difference will be that better ingredients, better quality overall, and that's really it. It's just better ingredients in general. But and another thing I wanted to point out is going back to yours, the enchiladas. So the ground beef, 80/20 that we talked about earlier isn't terrible, but it also depends on how you cook them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to, cook these meals, do them on something like a Foreman grill, um, do them on an air fryer, something like that, to where you're taking out all the extra fats, and then again you can have those meats. Go again, moderation, but you can still have meats and season them with some good seasoning, and then you have yourself a good bowl of enchiladas.
And then zucchini noodles. I've had this a couple times before. Why do you recommend zucchini noodles?
So again, just to get away more from the more like starchy carbs, things like that, to where you're not having an overload of carbs, and you can do more of a veggie based where they taste really good. So if they're done right, they taste fantastic. You can actually even do zucchini balls as well, and use the marinara sauce to make them mimic actual meatballs. So again, it's all just another part of having more creativity, since again most of us are stuck at home, so we can actually be creative with what we're doing food wise. So why not try something new, something like that, like zucchini noodles?
All right, moving on to snacks. And this may or may not be from my actual grocery orders that I do. For my snacks, I'm doing crackers and a block of cheddar cheese. My personal favorite, which is peanut butter M&Ms, as well as tortilla chips and salsa. And I remember when we first started going over the list, you were not pleased with me with my snack list. So let's see what you've got. All right, so we've got natural peanut butter with banana and apple slices, baby carrots and hummus, pita chips and organic salsa, and peanut butter protein bars. So I guess let's start at the bottom there. I know that not all protein bars are created equal. When you're looking at a protein bar, what are you looking for when you're going to purchase yours?
Again, and this is a perfect example of even things that they're not necessarily bad for you, but I need to stay away from gluten. So that's the first two things I look at, is gluten free and dairy free on the protein bar.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly they'll have it on the front of the bar if they are, and if not, they'll have it right on the bottom left of the bar, and they'll just say, gluten free, dairy free. And the things I look for is the sugar content. So if it has any more, for a protein bar, if I see more than 4 grams of sugar, I'm not touching it. So a good one to look at is, you have the think bars there. They're 20 grams of protein you're having. One bars are one of my favorites. Again, they're about they have 1 gram of sugar and between 20 and 25 grams of protein, depending on which one you get. And they're a great snack, a quick go-to snack that'll mimic having something crunchy, something to kind of gnaw on something while you're at home and don't really have much to do. But again, you go to something that's healthier versus eating something that's really not going to do you any good.
And then natural peanut butter rather than regular peanut butter. Can you kind of go over just what the real difference is there, when you're choosing natural peanut butter over just a regular one?
A lot of times it's the amount of calories in it, the fats in it as well. So you're getting more of the better quality fats in the better peanut butter, and really, again, the better ingredients that are in it. It's gonna just help you more as far as overall health wise, and then you can have the moderation. I'm gonna say it a lot in this, but then you can have just that little bit more of a serving of it than you would be able to if you had the one that wasn't as good for you. So that's why I recommend natural peanut butter. It's overall better for you. And then, like you said, when we get to the end and we compare the cost, then why wouldn't you? If you can get the better one, then why not?
And then you've replaced my peanut butter M&Ms with a lot of fruits and vegetables, I see.
Yeah, because if you combine again the peanut butter with like chopped up banana or apple slices, it tastes fantastic. It tastes really really good. So and that way you still get the that peanut butter craving out of your system, and the banana makes it crunchy.
I don't know. You keep saying moderation. It sounds to me like I can have a few peanut butter M&Ms a day and still be good. So let's take a look at the end result. We've gone through and we've had our fun. So let's see. I'm guessing that I went into this guessing that because of what you were getting, that yours was going to be a lot more expensive than mine. The results were kind of surprising to me. As you can see, this was using the same grocery stores, the one right down the street from my house, using what was available. And you were only 10 cents more expensive. It really, really stunned me.
It's absolutely correct. It's right there in front of us. So again, like I said earlier, if you can get the more better quality one that's going to actually help you out health wise, then why wouldn't you spend the 10 cents more to get something that's actually going to be better for you? And this is from this Publix, right?
Yeah, I used Publix.
So when I went through mine, I used Aldi and Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
And am I okay to say what my cost was from those two?
I still don't believe you, but go ahead.
It came out to $50.47, and I know it's 100% because I actually ordered all that was in
Uh-huh.
my shopping cart, so I got all of it, and it was it rounded off to $51. So you can actually get double of that, and again, and have all good organic foods.
All right. We are going to open it up now to questions. And we have a question here about immune systems. Like one of the things that I've heard Dr. Akampora and Dr. Carl talk about when we've done our COVID-19 webinars is about one of the best things that you can do is kind of be preemptive and eat foods that help your immune system. What kind of foods do you recommend for helping your immune system that still fall into this healthy alternative category?
Absolutely. So, of course, protein. We know that's very important for
Mm-hmm.
us to help us. There's, of course, vitamin C. Whole foods are going to be the key here. So having whole foods, clean foods, fruits and vegetables, those will all help us boost our immune system. Vitamin C, of course, are in oranges, as we know. They're in a lot of different foods, peppers, lemons. So things like that. Vitamin D, those are also going to help us as well. Um, the zinc that we can get usually is in whole grains, it's in oysters, it's in scallops. So things like that to help our body build its own immune system, food wise. And omega-3 fatty acids, of course, which are found, in different type of fish. So those are small types of ways that we can focus on, boosting up our immune system through food.
You talked about protein. One thing I want to ask you, I had a heck of a time trying to get eggs for about 2 weeks. Just no one that would deliver to my house had eggs. So for breakfast, what's a good replacement if I'm still looking to have a good amount of protein with my breakfast if I can't get a hold of eggs?
If you can't do eggs, one of my go-tos is salmon. Is for
Okay.
breakfast. I don't know if you ever tried that or not, but
Not
if
for
you
breakfast.
it's really good actually. If you do it on a I do it on a bagel,
Hmm.
so it's like a protein-rich bagel, and I put some
Basically locks.
yeah avocado spread,
Okay.
and on top of it, then I'll put the sliced salmon that's already pre-made, and you just you take it apart, put it on top of the bread, and that right there you have yourself a good amount of protein for breakfast.
All right, and we have another question about protein bars and protein shakes. If you just joined us, you can submit your questions to Luis. You should see there's a little box that says Q&A, and that's how you can feed us your questions. This question is on protein bars and protein shakes, which we kind of talked about. Just what is your opinion on protein shakes and meal replacement bars, such as Cliff bars? Are there any others you would recommend, or what's your feeling on the meal replacement options?
So that's a not a tough one, but it's a very personal question because you don't want to replace actual foods with supplements. That's why they're called supplements. They're made to supplement your actual food intake. But if you're running late and you have something, going on and you can't have a full meal, then yes, absolutely. It's better that you have something that's protein rich versus not having any food at all, because that will actually be worse for you. Uh, I don't necessarily like Cliff Bars, but that's a personal thing. They also are usually very high in carbs versus proteins,
Mm-hmm.
so they're good for usually like a post-workout type thing. Usually that's what they're good for, or if you're going to go on a long hike or a walk or things like that. Great for energy, so they're good for that. But besides that, I wouldn't really use them as a daily snack when you don't have anything else to snack on. For something like that, I would go with something more like like a one bar. There's some Quest bars that taste wise they're not my favorite, but they have good, which we talked about that. So those things like that are more that I would go for.
Yeah, I've had a lot of the Quest bars, and yes, some of them are much better than others. Pure protein bars are ones that I've had personally. What are your opinions on those? Those are the ones that I picked those out when I was shopping because of that sugar to protein ratio. It was high in protein, very low in sugar. What do you think about those?
Those are I think Costco has those. I used to get those as well too, and they're fine for for a quick snack, quick meal. They're fine for that, honestly. Just always keep in mind that, like you said, keep in mind the sugar intake, and that they're not too high in any of those fields.
Some questions on food safety, particularly with romaine lettuce. And there's been, I think it was last year, earlier this year, I forget when, but there were the E. coli breakouts with romaine lettuce. Just what are your opinions on romaine lettuce? Are they safe to eat now? And should we just keep watching the news for any further developments on that?
Right. I would just keep an eye on if your grocery store is selling it, then definitely ask. But for the most part, if they're out there, they're not going to put anything out there if there's still some type of a issue going on with them. They won't be in the stores, and if they are, then and differently, then yeah, then don't get them. But I would definitely keep an eye on the news. Always, be informed and make your informed decision for sure.
This is something I've heard Dr. Akampora kind of talking about, where he said in a previous webinar that right now there's no ties to the spread of COVID-19 through food, because there has been some questions about food safety. As long as you cook food, like there's not the chances for contamination through the food probably isn't there, right?
As far as we know, there isn't, because of the heat, of course, and all that. So that's why they suggest, if you're gonna you boil water if you need to, if
Mhm.
you rent stuff like that. Yeah, but as far as we know, there isn't any.
Yeah, I know the things that I've heard Dr. Akampora there in Charlotte and Dr. Carl here in Richmond say is, when you have your food delivered, go ahead and wipe those off with your disinfectant wipes, cook the food, and you should be good as far as that is concerned. Um, Questions about pastas. Are there any other pastas you can recommend? I've seen all kinds of, you know, bean pastas, lentil pastas. I think I have a box of chickpea pasta that's been in my cabinet for a long time, and I just haven't pulled the trigger and made it. Just which ones do you recommend?
Yeah, there any organic pasta. I usually do this. I love the zucchini one. So ever since I've done that, I don't do anything else because it gives me what I want, I don't have the craving anymore for it. But absolutely, anything that's whole grain pasta, anything that's that clean to that level, that's just not your regular, starchy, then you're good with that. As long, of course, if you don't have an allergy to, to any of those things.
We touched on this for a little bit because, as you said, make sure that you can pronounce the names of the ingredients. Are there any ingredients that you're just putting it right back on the shelf?
Well, the first ones for sure are there's like four, and we can probably post that if
Yeah, we
that
can.
makes sense. Is there's about, oh my goodness, like 4 or 5 different names that it's all sugar. It's just a different name for sugar. So if I see the first ingredients are enriched flour, I leave it alone. If I see, like I said, Xanax gum, I leave it alone. Those are the things I really just stay away from. And of course, anything gluten, I don't touch.
Question about veggies and fruits. Should you wash all veggies and fruits before putting them in your refrigerator? Well, I think you should do that even before the outbreak happened, right?
So yeah, so there's a few ways to do it actually. If you if you take them out, put them in like your little section in your fridge, and you can actually wash them when you take them out. That way they actually last longer from what I've seen. And that's one thing you can try out. But I used to just always wash my veggies, beforehand
Mm-hmm.
and then put them in the fridge. But I've tried that lately, and it actually lets them last a little bit longer. And I'm not really eating them anyways beforehand. So, I just wash them afterwards, and they actually seem to last a little bit longer.
Okay, so just keep them separated from everything else that's in the fridge then.
You can leave them in the bag if you want to, and then put them in the fridge, and then put them in the little veggie drawer or whatever. And then if you do that, then absolutely,
Okay.
that works for me anyway.
Okay. We have questions about snacks, which is always my personal favorite topic. Dried apricots, banana chips, crystallized ginger, sunflower seeds, and dates. Is there too much sugar, or are you okay with those as snacks?
Yeah, I mean, again, depending on your personal, health issues, then if you want to do a mix of those things, I would say no more than a handful. That's usually being safe bet, for things like that. It's kind of like
Okay.
with normal fats, you want to do more like about a handful or so a day.
Okay. Um, we didn't really pay any attention to a whole bunch. We talked about food allergies a little bit, but what we were looking at with our orders, what kind of changes would you make based on food allergies? Are there any popular, or not popular? Are there any common food allergies that you've helped people create a diet for? And what are some of the tools in your toolbox that you use to help create diets and grocery lists for people?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that we actually use, which is fantastic, is that we do the DNA testing here.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty of that is that it tells you what you're predisposed to being either allergic to or not being able to process well, being very sensitive to. So knowing that kind of gives us a really huge lead on a lot of trial and error. So if we get back their results and their carb sensitivity is very high, then we automatically know, okay, well, this means they need to go on a low carb style eating regimen, to where we watch what they have carbohydrate wise, make sure it's more complex carbs versus simple carbs and things like that. But having that tool is fantastic because it really gives us a big lead, and it gives us a great starting point to not have to do too much guesswork.
And that test also kind of lets you know if someone needs to be low carb or if they need to be Mediterranean diet too, right?
Yeah, it lets us know it gives us 3 different close options. So it's
Okay.
Mediterranean, low carb, and then the, either, or the high fat type diet.
Mhm.
So it gives us those options to understand what works best for that person. And then again, we always tweak it, of course, throughout that process, but at least it gives us a great starting point to know where we need to start looking at first.
Because we do have a question about those diets, talking about ketogenic diets, Mediterranean diets. Is there one that's better for cardiovascular health than the other, or does it really just come down to the individual?
It does. It comes
Okay.
down to the individual. It really does.
Okay. Um, Again, if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A box to talk to us. Um, what are some other options that we can have as snacks other than the ones that we talked about? Are there any in particular that you usually pick up? I know that you're a health coach, so you're probably down on snacking, but I'm stuck inside all day, and at some point I'm going to snack. What other healthy options do you have for us?
Oh man, I love snacking.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Love snacking. I just, again, we just choose what we should be snacking on versus what is not really that good for us. So I like snacking on almonds. So I'll usually do, because again, I don't want to do too much of the fat. So I'll do 2 handfuls or so of that a day of the almonds, things like that. I will have, referring to the earlier question, I will have as a snack. And I just
Hmm.
do 1 scoop because that it gives me a little bit of the boost of the protein, so I can have, I do things like amino acids throughout the day as well that help a little bit with curbing the appetite. But yeah, you can do things like you want to be careful with the fruits, because if you do too much of the fruits, they are natural sugars, but they're still sugars. So again, you want to be very careful with those too. So that's where the having that moderation of, okay, I'm not going to have 3 bananas today. I'll have 2, or I'll have 1 apple today, and I'll just cut it in slices. That way it lasts me a little bit longer, and things like that. And pair it, like we talked about, pair it with something like peanut butter, or you can do something like a handful of grapes and pair that with some sliced turkey from the deli, things like that. You can mix it up, be creative with those things. Absolutely.
We have a question about raw veggies. We have someone who does not like raw vegetables, and they've now started roasting or steaming their veggies as opposed to boiling them. Just what are your thoughts on keeping cooked foods as nutrient dense as possible? What are some of the methods we can use to do that?
So you could definitely do that, because then you're still getting some type of the nutrients. I mean, when you do roast them and all that, you kind of do get rid of some of the nutrients in
Hmm.
them, but at least you're getting some of it versus not getting it at all. So that's one way of doing it. I mean, I don't know if do you like, I know we put that earlier, but that's one of the ones that's coming to my mind is like you could do baby carrots with some hummus, and that way it kind of mimics like it covers the flavor of the
Okay.
carrots. So then maybe that would be something that could help. But yeah, if you roast them, don't just char them, and that should be at least some way to get your veggies.
Between roasting, steaming, and boiling, is there one that keeps more nutrients than the other?
That's a good question. I think it would be. That's a good question. I'll need to do some research on that one.
Okay. And we'll include that. After this is done, if you've registered for this webinar, you'll get a follow-up email from us that has a recording from this webinar, and any follow-up questions we'll answer in that as well. So we'll have that in that email that'll go out to everyone that registered. Um, here's a question about water. And we didn't talk about drinks much during this webinar, but what's a normal amount of water to drink a day?
A good rule of thumb is a gallon a day. That's kind of like the easiest way to kind of put it out there. A gallon a day, and of course, not all at once. You do not want to do that all at once. You want to spread that throughout the entire day. And
Hmm.
remember, foods do have water in them as well. So take that into consideration too. But usually a good way to gauge it is try to reach as much as you could for a gallon of water. And that's actually not, it seems like a lot, but throughout the entire day, especially if you're moving and you're being active as much as you can in these times, that actually isn't that terrible.
If we are looking for canned fruits and vegetables, and obviously that's not nearly as good as the real deal, but it's going to last us a little bit longer. Are there certain things on the label that we need to be looking for, like no sugar added, or is there a sodium level on the back that we need to be looking for?
Yeah, so some of the like canned veggies or frozen veggies, they're not always the worst. You'll have a lot of good nutrients are still in there because they're frozen, so they're still in there, kept very well preserved. But yes, when you're looking at the canned, you always want to stick in general to at least 2,000 milligrams of sodium or less a day. So let that gauge be what helps you out when you're looking at the cans. So, and remember, you're not going to have the entire can for the day. So look at what that is per serving. So as long as it's per serving and that adds up to or doesn't go over that around that number, then it should be okay.
We have another question about water. What about carbonated water? I guess they have a soda stream that they use, or seltzer waters. Is that still fine?
It's still water. It's carbonated, but yeah, it's still water. So there's actually some benefits to the seltzer water as well. Absolutely. So again, use that also in moderation. You don't want to have all your water intake be just carbonated water, but there's actually some benefits to it.
Okay. I guess if we'll give you a couple more minutes if you want to put in a question. So here's a question for you. Of everything that I had on there, what's going to be the number one thing that maybe might surprise people as to how unhealthy they are? Would that be like the flour tortillas that I had on there for the enchiladas?
From your list?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of that and the bacon.
Okay.
I would say it was one of the highest to be very careful with. That's the ones you want to have really less of those. So you can do things like gluten-free tortillas. You can do things like spinach tortillas. You can do things like that. 7-grain. Just and you're still having that tortilla in itself, but just made in more quality ingredient. So by consistently practicing those healthy behaviors is what will help us a lot to optimize our immune system over time and things like that.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have. Luis, thank you so much for joining us. WellcomeMD is still open. We are still accepting patients. You're still seeing patients mostly virtually there at the office. Is that correct, Luis?
Right. That's right. We're still here helping people out as much as we can virtually, and we do things just like this. We do a chat with the patient just like we are seeing virtually, and it helps a lot to have the person know that they have someone there actually listening to them, with this time of need.
All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you again to everybody who joined us. And we will have this recording available. If you want more information, please check us out at WellcomeMD.com, WellcomeMD.com. And we'll talk to you at our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.